The world today, it appears, re- revolves around the mask these days, and it will have a greater implications going forward, more than perhaps many will realise. And the mask is symbolic of covering up many of the ills of the world currently. The global job market cannot sustain the jobs before the prearranged global shutdown. And that was one of the reasons for it. Plus the fact they didn't have sufficient money supply to keep it running. And the fallout of it will never send job levels back to what it was previously. That has become clear now. And again, that can change very quickly with the trust funds and the projects. So all's not lost, it's not all doom and gloom. But we have to have some people who future think in a way and relay it to other people so they understand the potentials of what can happen going forward and how we can then interact and prevent it. Now, the job market was no longer self-sustainable for the clowns or us. The majority of jobs are actually non-essential, designed by a plethora of departments, most of which are unnecessary. Look at the American government as a prime example. It's the highest employer in the world, 23.5 million. And not one of them can fix the virus or act in the right way or come up with sensible solutions or deliver the stimulus checks. 23.5 million employees. And take, for example, the 17 intelligence agencies based in America. We're talking about non-essential. When we only need 2. The FBI and an international division. I won't say CIA, clowns in America, because that the reputation and what's gone on with that group should not be carried forward by that name and that frequency and that energy. Some beyond evil stuff come out of that place. Now, the other 15 intelligence agencies were put there by the former controller, Marduk. So they can all be spied upon and all spy on each other. And that's a fact. Langley didn't know that they were being listened to. Oops. Kim found that out. It's all in the files. And all of which the American people paid for, all these agencies. And yet I've got 0 or less in return. Now, recent figures came to me, and it appears to be borne out. And people will not like this, but we're keeping it real. It is being suggested now that 1/3 of American businesses will or have closed and will never be reopening again. Again, this was something we did warn about very early in April. 1/3 of American businesses will never reopen again. And that's because of the economy. Businesses, doesn't matter which business, unless you're Bezos or some of the snake oil companies like Kushner et al., can't sustain no income for 7 weeks now. Some can't even sustain 7 days, never mind 7 weeks. And like I said, this supports what the show has been saying all along. The jobs will just not be there once the fake replanning of the world lockdown ends. And with less jobs and less money for people to buy goods, more businesses will follow. Of that you can guarantee. So is that doom and gloom? I suppose so. But those are the facts. And both Kim and I warned of this back in 2017, that the financial crash of America was being orchestrated from within. And yet how many outside of THI listened and took note? Kim said it on several shows, did she not? Kim warned Trump of it 3 years ago, 4 years ago in fact. What was done to stop it? Where were all the financial experts warning of it? Nowhere to be seen or heard. And yet it's all unfolding before their eyes, and yet they can't see it. You know? So here's their next stage of the plan. Again, it's not going to sound pleasant, but we have to be aware of what they're up to then be prepared and prevent it. And be aware of the pitfalls surrounding it. Because if this gets suggested, a lot of people are going to jump up and down in excitement, and yet it'll be the worst thing ever. So, with less jobs, what they will roll out is the next stage of their problem, reaction, solution plan. They already have the solution. They've created the problem. They're waiting for the public reaction to provide the solution that they wanted. And in comes the Universal Basic Income, or the UBI, which might as well in overview stand for You Be Idiot. Because that is the beginning of the end of the system. If the system hasn't changed and that rolls out. And like I said, many will happily go along with it, as unfortunately now money has become the new god. Woo, free money, and we don't have to work. Great. And isn't it fantastic over how our government is looking after us? Free money, woo. Let's all get drunk or smoke joints to celebrate. But only a few will stop and think, where is the catch? Like the stimulus checks. Now, the quantum system ran the scenario at least twice to my knowledge, and found out that with UBI, Universal Basic Income, only 5% would go to work. 5%. Give or take a few percentage points. So less than 10% would work. But 5% is not enough to sustain the necessary tasks for humanity. Problem, reaction, solution then leaps onto the next stage of their plan. And all of you will be aware of it. You may put it to one side and go, oh, that's all in the future, except it's not. Enter stage 3. Well, as not enough of you work, we're going to need robots to do all the work, with the goal of replacing us all work-wise first, and then replacing us entirely with the transhuman elements, half man, half machine. And no, it's not the future. They already have this technology now. Shane warned you all about this 3 years ago. That's their plan, transhumanism. So you see how it flows. And then who's to stop them? If you want universal basic income, you will be required to be vaccinated and ID chipped also. With no jobs and no money, how will people be able to refuse? And this is why we put the warnings in this show, so we alert people what they're up to and we stop it. And like I say, to many it'll all sound very negative and doom and gloom, Thomas. I can hear people saying and thinking that now. But how many other of our predictions on our show have come to fruition? So it's not doom and gloom, it's a warning of making people aware of the situation, which can then be counteracted. We all have the ability to change it, we've just forgotten. But what is doom and gloom is, if you think this is all hopeless and helpless situation, it's not. Like I say, we have the ability to change it, one person at a time. And the people have always had the power. It keeps the clowns awake at night. That the people will rise up, more so now than ever. And yet we've criminally neglected and forgotten that. We are the power. We always were. And then you've got going back a full circle, masks. Masks make you sick. Yes, you heard that correctly. Masks make you sick. Because this illness is largely of a respiratory nature. And so breathing in and out carbon dioxide then traps bacteria within the mask and also the throat, from which viruses proliferate. And every doctor and nurse should know that as a fact. And yet so few speak up. Although I'm very pleased now there is a few that have now, most of which has cost them their job. You know, why are we allowing them to sack people telling the truth? But too few will sacrifice themselves for the greater good of the all. And that is the only thing that actually is holding humanity back now. Our inability to support each other as a collective. Because once that's done with around 8 to 12% of the people, it's game over. They cannot handle that volume of people. But our illusion masks, which are dropping now and exposing everyone, they also made you sick. And then the need for large doses of shadow and inner work to correct it. Can people not see the similarities of it all? But there have been other mask wearers in history and in the past also. Bank robbers. And then we have the two democratic-led groups called Antifa and the KKK. One was eventually outlawed, which is an interesting term in and of itself. That outlawed and kind of conflictory in its concept. And the other was allowed to wear masks. But there was another mask-wearing organisation that was quite popular in the alt media for a bit, and that mask was outlawed as well, called Anonymous. So they outlaw the anonymous mask, yet make the American people anonymous by making them wear the masks. How ironic is that? And what people should have really seen through by now, whether wearing masks or not, is how all governments are completely incompetent. All of them. Not one has handled it properly. Look at how they've left all the people in America in disaster zones like Michigan for a start. It's shameful. How the entire medical industry is not only criminal, but in many cases pure evil. How the media are psychopathic liars and quite frankly should be all hung for treason. Or how all the official global bodies like World Health Organization, FEMA, the UN, the Red Cross and other so-called charitable entities are not only corrupt but not fit for the purpose. Militaries declared mute, incapable of helping the people. Agencies so corrupt beyond all reason. The functions of society like law, legal justice, the police, social services, hospitals and other so-called groups that were allegedly designed to look after or protect the public have all been deemed no longer fit for the purpose either. Look around you. Not one of them has done the right thing. And all can and should see it now. So do we sit back and go, oh my God, we're all going to die? Or are we going to stand up and fight back? And like I said, it will not require as much to change the system as you think. Because many are now starting to see through the illusion of everything and fighting back now. And that pleases me no end. We'll be back.